Alright guys, welcome to your first lecture on social studies here. This one's going to cover the United States Constitution, our first one. And this really kind of comes out of the period after the American Revolution, where the states began writing their constitutions, limiting power of the governors and more power to the legislatures. They only allowed white men over 21 who owned property to vote. Most of them included a Bill of Rights in their constitutions, protecting things like freedom of religion, speech, the press, and assembly, things that had been denied to them under the British laws. At the national stage, they formed the Articles of Confederation, which would have only one branch, a single house legislature, no executive or judicial branches, and all the states had one vote in Congress, with very, very limited power. It was mostly in the hands of the states. Congress could not regulate trade or collect taxes. It could make laws but couldn't enforce them, and they could deal with other nations and the Native Americans, run a postal service, coin money and borrow money, but that was about it. And even coining money was a little bit iffy because most of the states had their own currency at the time. So the biggest thing that happens during the time period of the Articles of Confederation is that the western lands become settled, this land that was not part of any of the colonies. In 1785, the public lands were divided into townships of 36 square miles, and each was divided into square mile sections to be sold for at least $1 an acre, or $640. One section in each township was reserved for the schools. This was combined in 1787 with the Northwest Ordinance, which organized the Northwest Territory, which would be today the states of Illinois, Ohio, Michigan, and Wisconsin, and Indiana. And they could eventually become states when they had 60,000 people in a region. The problem with the Articles of Confederation is that these states had their own taxes, coined their own money, they had no power to collect national taxes. The British troops actually occupied forts in the Northwest Territory, and Spain refused to allow travel down the Mississippi River. When you combine that with an economic depression in 1785, farmers in the United States, like Daniel Shays, became greatly affected. The state of Massachusetts actually began seizing farmers' lands when they couldn't pay their debts, and Shays led several farmers in rebellion against the state government, but were eventually arrested and put down by the state militia. But it was a signal that the national government needed to get stronger if it ever hoped to survive past the initial stages. Thanks, guys, for paying attention. Hopefully we took good notes.